All right, are you ready to dive into a world of cybercrime? Today, we're looking at a group that's basically ripped straight from a heist movie, the Lazarus Group.
What makes them so interesting is that they're not just some random hackers in a basement. They're supposedly backed by the North Korean government. It
Yeah.
makes them a pretty big player globally.
Exactly, and we've got all sorts of things for this deep dive. Research, news articles, we even found some analysis from a Chinese YouTube channel. They all kind of paint the same picture of this group, a group pulling off some of the craziest, boldest digital heists we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's kind of like if Ocean's 11 had a tech division that was really into cryptocurrency. That's the Lazarus Group.
I like that. Okay, so let's break it down. Who is this Lazarus Group? It seems like they have more names than, hey, Hollywood Spy, ABT-38, Hidden Cobra, Bureau 121. It's like they're trying to make their own brand as criminals.
Well, they've certainly made a name for themselves. What's really crazy is that the U.S. Department of Justice has officially linked them to the North Korean government. They're basically saying that North Korea is weaponizing cyber attacks to, mess with global cybersecurity and make money while they're under international sanctions.
So this isn't just petty theft. We're talking about big-time state-sponsored cybercrime.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how their goals have changed over time. In the beginning, they seemed more focused on disruption and making political statements, like with the Sony Pictures hack back in 2014 with the movie The Interview.
Oh, yeah, that was a huge deal.
Mhm.
They basically shut down Sony, leaked all kinds of sensitive data. It was chaos.
It was a classic example of using cyber attacks to create fear and uncertainty, almost like a digital version of psychological warfare.
Yeah, kind of like when a villain in a superhero movie makes their big entrance to show everyone how powerful they are.
Exactly. But here's where things change. More recently, they've shifted focus to something way more profitable: financial gain, specifically in the world of cryptocurrency.
Well, yeah, North Korea has all these heavy international sanctions, so they've got to find creative ways to make money.
Right, so where better to do that than target the world of digital currencies, especially because it's relatively unregulated and you can make or lose a fortune super quickly.
And they're not messing around. We're talking about heists that would make a regular bank robber blush.
You remember the Bangladeshi bank heist back in 2016? They almost got away with $1 billion, all by exploiting vulnerabilities in the SWIFT banking system.
The SWIFT system.
Yeah.
Isn't that the network that connects tons of financial institutions around the world? Like the nervous system of global finance.
Exactly, and they found a way to tap into it, sent out fraudulent transfer requests that would make them insanely rich. But get this, a typo stopped them.
Wait, you're telling me this billion-dollar heist was stopped because of a typo?
It sounds crazy, but it's true. One of the transfer requests had a misspelling, which raised red flags and ultimately kept them from stealing the full amount.
Wow, talk about a stroke of luck. Like a villain in a movie tripping over their own shoelaces right as they're about to get away.
It just shows that even the smartest criminals can make mistakes. And in cybersecurity, even the tiniest detail can have huge consequences.
Okay, so they didn't get the full billion, but they still got away with like $81 million.
Yeah, not exactly pocket change. And it was a sign of things to come. They had success and they wanted more.
And it seems like they've really gotten a taste for cryptocurrency. In the past few years, they've been hitting exchanges and platforms all the time, and they're getting more sophisticated.
It's like they went from robbing banks to targeting the digital equivalent of Fort Knox, where all the cryptocurrency is kept.
Places like KuCoin, Unibright, Coinberry, they've basically left their mark everywhere in crypto.
And then there's the big one, the Bybit Ethereum theft in February 2025. They stole a record-breaking $1.46 billion in Ethereum. Just gone.
Wow. That's mind-blowing. How are they doing this, pulling off these crazy heists? It's like they have a superpower for cracking digital vaults or something.
Well, there's no question that they're good, technically speaking. They're experts at finding zero-day vulnerabilities, basically hidden weaknesses in software that nobody else knows about.
So they're like digital ninjas, slipping through cracks in the system before anyone even realizes they're there.
I like that analogy. But their real weapon, their secret weapon, is social engineering. Think of them like digital con artists. They manipulate people to gain access to systems, tricking them into giving them the keys to the kingdom.
So it's not just about brute force hacking. They're playing mind games, using tricks and deception to get what they want.
Exactly. The DMM Bitcoin heist in 2024 is a perfect example. They targeted a specific employee, earned their trust, and then boom, $300 million in Bitcoin gone.
That's just like a scene from Ocean's 11. They create these crazy schemes and disguises to do the impossible.
Exactly, and the Bybit heist was even more incredible. They got to the first person in a multi-signature security system. They basically made a fake interface that looked totally legit. Nobody knew anything was wrong until it was way too late.
Wait, so they tricked someone with high-level access into basically handing them the keys to the vault.
Yep, that's what happened. And it just shows you how important this is. Cybersecurity isn't just about firewalls and antivirus software anymore. It's about recognizing that humans can be vulnerable too. That the weakest point in any system is often the person using it.
It's a scary thought. So how do you even protect yourself against a group that can hack systems and minds?
That is the question, isn't it? Luckily, we've got some insights from a pretty unexpected place. A Chinese YouTube channel called Laogao and Shamo.
A Chinese YouTube channel. All right, this is getting interesting. Tell me more.
So they did a deep dive into the Bybit heist. It's really a unique perspective on how the Lazarus Group supposedly did it, including how they use social engineering.
Okay, I'm all ears. It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how they make a heist movie, but with real-world consequences.
So according to Laogao and Shamo, the Lazarus Group managed to steal like 400,000 ETH from Bybit, which at the time was worth about $1.4 billion.
That's hard to even imagine. That much money just gone. Boof.
Yeah, and get this, it wasn't even Bybit that discovered the theft in the first place.
Wait, seriously, if they didn't notice it, who did?
It was a blockchain analyst. Goes by the name XBT. They noticed these weird transactions and sounded the alarm.
So basically a digital detective.
Yeah.
Sniffing out shady activity on the blockchain.
Exactly. XB2 works anonymously, but they're obviously dedicated to protecting the integrity of the blockchain. They're like a vigilante superhero, but for the world of cryptocurrency.
Okay, I'm loving this. So what happened? Did this digital Batman save the day?
Well, thanks to them, multiple analysts were able to confirm that the Bybit hack actually happened, which led to Bybit CEO Ben Zhu having to publicly acknowledge it. And you have to give Zhu credit. He handled it really well, immediately addressed the issue, did a live stream, explained what happened, and reassured people that their money was safe.
That's pretty impressive, especially considering how much money was gone. I'd be freaking out.
Well, he did go so far as to personally borrow money to cover the losses, which says a lot about how much he cares about his users.
That's a stand-up move, but it also shows you just how much pressure these exchanges are under, knowing that one mistake can be catastrophic.
For sure. Okay, so let's get back to the Lazarus Group. Back to them cracking Bybit's supposedly ultra-secure, multi-signature cold wallet.
Okay, remind me what a multi-signature cold wallet is again.
Think of it like a vault with a bunch of locks. You need a different key for each lock to open it. In Bybit's case, it required 3 different people to sign off on any transaction before money could be moved.
Yeah, okay, that sounds super secure. So how did they do it?
This is where their social engineering skills come in. They targeted the first person in the chain, the one who starts the process of withdrawing money.
So they hacked the person, not the system itself.
Right. And according to the Chinese YouTube channel, they got into this person's computer and made a fake interface that looked just like the real one. So when the employee went to withdraw money, it all looked totally normal.
Oh, wow, that's sneaky. So they signed off on the transaction without even knowing they were sending the money straight to the Lazarus Group.
Exactly. And because the first signature was legit, the other 2 people didn't suspect a thing. They confirmed the details and unknowingly signed off on the biggest cryptocurrency heist in history.
That's crazy. It's like a magic trick where you're so focused on one hand that you miss what's happening with the other.
And it makes you wonder, how did they even know so much about this employee and their access?
Right. It's like they had inside information.
The channel thinks that the Lazarus Group does a ton of research, almost like crafting a custom con for each target. They figure out people's habits, their routines, their weaknesses, and then exploit them.
Wow. It's like they're playing 4D chess while everyone else is stuck playing checkers.
And this wasn't a one-time thing either. They've apparently used similar tactics to target other cryptocurrency companies, like the Japanese exchange, DMM Bitcoin, where they stole 4,500 Bitcoins, which at the time was worth around $300 million.
So this isn't just luck. They're methodical, they're strategic, and they're patient. They find the weakest link, which is often a human, and they use it.
And what's even more chilling is that they may not even need a huge team of hackers to do it. The channel thinks they might just have a small team of highly skilled people who are really good at social engineering.
So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. A small team of elite digital con artists could be better than an army of hackers.
And that's the scary part. If they can get to people with that level of access, what's stopping them from getting into other sensitive systems, like critical infrastructure or government
It's
networks?
that kind of thing that keeps me up at night. They're operating on a whole different level,
Mm.
a level where the rules of traditional cybersecurity don't even seem to apply.
And the channel mentions another scary detail. The Lazarus Group apparently uses something called zero-day exploits.
Zero-day exploits. Remind me what those are again.
Basically, there are vulnerabilities in software that nobody knows about yet, so they're super hard to defend against. Imagine like a secret backdoor into a system that no one even knew existed.
Yeah, okay, that's terrifying. So they're not just finding weaknesses, they're finding weaknesses that no one else even knows about.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if they have access to resources that a normal hacking group wouldn't. Some experts even think they might be getting help from, like, nation-state level intelligence agencies.
Okay, now we're going full conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's like we're piecing together a plot for a movie, but the consequences are real.
And the channel makes a bold prediction. The Lazarus Group is only going to get better, more sophisticated, more dangerous.
So they're not just happy being the world's most successful cyber heist crew. They want to level up.
It seems like it. They see the potential in cryptocurrency, and they see the weaknesses in our digital systems. They're adapting, they're learning, and they're getting better every time.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about their origins, their motivations, their tactics, their targets. But I want to go deeper. Let's dive into some of their specific heists, starting with the one that really put them on the map, the Sony Pictures hack.
Ah, yes. The hack that brought Hollywood to its knees and exposed all the secrets of a major studio. It's a fascinating case study, not just for how technically brilliant it was, but for the geopolitical fallout that came from it.
It's a real-life cyber espionage thriller
Ooh.
with more twists and turns than a Hollywood blockbuster.
So buckle up. We're about to take you behind the scenes of one of the most audacious cyber attacks in history. Okay, so picture this. It's 2014, and Sony Pictures is getting ready to release The Interview, this comedy about North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, the one with Seth Rogen and James Franco playing journalists who were hired by the CIA to,
Yes. Yeah, not exactly a recipe for good international relations.
Exactly, and apparently someone in North Korea was not laughing. November that year, Sony Pictures Network was breached. But this wasn't just some average hack. Yeah, this was more like a full-on digital attack, right? Their whole system got shut down, employees came to work, and all they saw was a skull and crossbones on their computers with a message from the hackers calling themselves the Guardians of Peace.
And that's when things went haywire. All sorts of sensitive data started leaking online. Unreleased movies, super embarrassing emails between executives, even employees' personal information.
It was a total disaster for Sony, and the FBI was quick to figure out what was going on. They linked the attack to North Korea, and yep, you guessed it, the Lazarus Group.
No, what's really interesting is that they didn't just steal data. They completely messed up Sony's operations. They created this atmosphere of fear and uncertainty.
Like they wanted to make a statement, to show the world that they weren't messing around. They were a force to be reckoned with.
And they definitely accomplished that. The attack shook Hollywood and everyone else to the core. It showed how even the most secure systems could be vulnerable.
Almost like they want to be the keys or so's of the digital world. You know, that super mysterious criminal mastermind from The Usual Suspects. Make sure everyone knew their name and what they could do.
That's a good comparison. And yeah, the immediate impact was all bad for Sony. Lots of disruption and embarrassment. But the long-term consequences were huge. The Sony hack solidified the Lazarus Group as a group that would use cyber attacks for political reasons.
Like their official debut on the world stage, showing everyone they were ready to play the cyber espionage game.
Exactly. And they proved they were sophisticated, like really sophisticated. They didn't just hack one computer, they got into the whole network, stole tons of data, and basically shut down a multi-billion-dollar company.
It's scary to think that a group of hackers could have so much power over a company like that.
Totally. And it marked a turning point for the Lazarus Group. They went from mainly targeting South Korea to, well, everyone. They were going after bigger targets, bolder goals.
So the Sony hack was their graduation ceremony, their announcement to the world that they were ready for the big leagues.
Exactly. And they wasted no time getting started. Fast forward a couple of years to the Bangladeshi bank heist, completely different game. This was carefully planned, super methodical, and targeted the core of global finance.
This one is still crazy to me. How do you go from hacking a movie studio to a central bank? It's like they went from robbing a convenience store to planning an Ocean's 11 heist on a casino.
Remember, their goals were changing. They wanted to make money, and what better target than a bank with billions of dollars just sitting there?
It's like they thought, if we can hack Hollywood, why not hack Wall Street?
And they basically did. They got into the Bangladesh bank's network, stole their SWIFT credentials, and almost transferred $1 billion to accounts all over the world.
Wait, SWIFT credentials, isn't that like the master key to the entire global financial system?
It is. SWIFT is how banks transfer money securely all over the world. It's what makes international finance work. And the Lazarus Group found a way to use it to send fake transfer requests.
I can't believe they were so close to pulling it off. It had been the biggest bank robbery ever.
They almost did get away with it, too. It was a typo, just one typo, that messed up the whole thing.
Are you serious? $1 billion heist, ruined by a typo.
Yeah, it's a story of being super bold and, well, a little careless. Their planning was amazing. They got into the bank systems, learned everything about their procedures, and timed the attack perfectly.
And then they make a super basic mistake, a typo that gets the authorities' attention and ruins their whole plan.
It's like a movie villain missing a super obvious detail that ends up being their downfall. Classic hubris.
So yeah, they didn't get the full billion, but they still got $81 million.
True, but it sent a message. The Lazarus Group was not to be messed with. It shook the banking industry to its core. It raised serious questions about the safety of the entire global financial system.
And it pretty much made their reputation as major cyber criminals, capable of pulling off heists that were bigger and more sophisticated than anything anyone had ever seen before.
And this was just the start. They kept getting better, targeting cryptocurrency exchanges and platforms, making a fortune that supposedly helped fund the North Korean government.
It's like they became the best bank robbers in the world. But instead of guns and masks, they used code and keyboards.
And they did it all in secret. From the shadows, leaving clues that investigators are still trying to piece together.
A real-life cyber mystery with crazy high stakes and very few answers.
And as we learn more about how they work, you start to see a pattern. Technical brilliance, ruthless efficiency, and a willingness to use people's weaknesses against them.
A dangerous combo, that's for sure.
And when you look at their cryptocurrency heists, you can see how their tactics have evolved. They're not just exploiting technical weaknesses anymore. They've mastered social engineering. They understand that humans are often the weakest link.
It's like they figured out that hacking a computer is one thing, but hacking a person is a whole other ballgame, and way more successful.
Exactly. The DMM Bitcoin heist is a perfect example. It's like a textbook case of how they use social engineering to get around security measures.
DMM Bitcoin, that was another Japanese cryptocurrency exchange, right? Were they just unlucky, or did the Lazarus Group specifically target them?
Not really luck. The Lazarus Group is always looking for weaknesses. And in this case, they found it in the person responsible for protecting DMM Bitcoin's money.
So they went after the person, not the system. It's like studying a bank's blueprint and realizing the easiest way in isn't the vault, but the security guard.
Perfect analogy. They found a key employee, someone who had access to the exchange's cold storage wallets, where most of their cryptocurrency was kept offline.
Makes sense. Go after the person with the keys to the kingdom.
And they did it so cleverly. They used something called spear phishing, sending specific emails designed to trick this person into giving up information or downloading malware.
So it wasn't just a random spam email. It was made specifically for this person.
Yeah, exactly. They probably did a ton of research on the employee, found out their interests, what they liked, even how they talked, all to make the email look real.
It's like they were writing a script for a con, figuring out exactly how to use this person's weaknesses against them.
And it worked. The employee took the bait, and the Lazarus Group was in.
They snuck in the back door, got past all the security measures by finding one weak spot.
And once they were in, they didn't waste time. They took 4,500 Bitcoins, hundreds of millions of dollars, just like that.
It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Right.
Deception and manipulation to get access, then they strike quickly and disappear.
It just proves the point we keep talking about. Cybersecurity isn't just about technology, it's about people. Understanding human behavior and how attackers can use our vulnerabilities against us.
It's scary to think that even the most secure system can be compromised if you trick the person using it.
And the Lazarus Group has learned that lesson well. They're masters of social engineering, blending tech skills with psychological manipulation to pull off these insane heists.
Like, they've taken con artistry to a whole new level, operating in the shadows, where the rules are different and the stakes are super high.
And when we look at their most recent heist, the Bybit Ethereum theft, we see how good they've gotten at social engineering. A perfectly planned operation that got them over $1 billion.
This one is still so fresh in everyone's minds. The biggest cryptocurrency heist ever? How did they do it?
Remember Bybit's multi-signature cold wallet? The one that needed 3 people to sign off on any transaction. The Lazarus Group got past it, not by hacking the tech, but by hacking the people.
You're telling me they tricked 3 separate people into approving a $1 billion transfer? That's almost impossible.
It sounds crazy, but that's how they did it.
Yeah.
They targeted the first person, the one who starts the withdrawal process.
So kind of like the DMM Bitcoin heist.
Similar, but they took it even further this time. They didn't just send a phishing email. They built a whole fake interface that looked exactly like Bybit's internal systems.
So when the employee went to make the transfer, it all looks real. It's like they made a perfect copy of a bank vault so the guard wouldn't know it was a trap.
Exactly. They saw the account balances, the transaction details, everything was a perfect match. There was no reason to think anything was wrong.
That's insane. So they typed in their info and started the transfer without realizing they were sending everything to the Lazarus Group.
Right. And because that first signature was valid, the other 2 people didn't suspect a thing. They saw the request, confirmed the details, and bam, the biggest cryptocurrency heist in history.
It's like something out of Mission Impossible. They use technology to create an illusion, a smokescreen, to hide what they were really doing.
It just goes to show that in cybersecurity, we're not just fighting lines of code, we're fighting human psychology, our own weaknesses.
It's scary to think that even the most secure systems can be compromised if you can trick the people using them.
And the Lazarus Group knows this better than anyone. They're always adapting, finding new ways to exploit our weaknesses, staying ahead of the game.
So what do they do next? What's the next move for a group that's already stolen billions and seems like they can get away with anything?
That is the big question. The Lazarus Group has shown they're not afraid to push the limits. They target systems that seem unbreakable, and they're always adapting to the changing world of cybersecurity.
It's like they're always one step ahead, anticipating the next move, finding new ways to use our vulnerabilities against us.
And as the world becomes more digital, they have more targets to choose from.
So what can we do? How do we protect ourselves against a group like this?
Well, the first step is awareness. We need to know how they operate, how they use our weaknesses, and how important it is to be careful online.
So it's not just about having the best antivirus software. It's about being skeptical, questioning everything, not taking anything for granted.
Exactly. We need to adopt a trust but verify attitude, especially when it comes to our personal information and our money.
It's like we have to be detectives in our own lives, looking for clues that something might be wrong, always asking, is this real or is it a trick?
We also need to be ready to adapt as the threats change. The Lazarus Group has shown that they're always innovating, finding new ways to exploit us.
It's a never-ending game of cat and mouse with insanely high stakes and potentially devastating consequences if we lose.
We can't afford to lose. But the good news is we've got some unexpected help, like that Chinese YouTube channel we talked about.
Oh yeah, Lao Gao and Xiaomo. They're like the good guys, the digital detectives on our side, helping us understand how the Lazarus Group works so we can protect ourselves.
Exactly. Their insights are so valuable, they might just be what helps us stay one step ahead of these criminals.
So even though the Lazarus Group seems like this scary, almost mythical group, they're not invincible.
Definitely not. We can fight back by being informed, by being vigilant, and by working together to make the digital world a safer place.
It's like those superhero movies, where everyday people team up to defeat an enemy that seems unstoppable.
Exactly. We might not have superpowers, but we have knowledge, we have technology, and we have each other.
And that's pretty powerful. Now, I'm curious, what does this YouTube channel say about what the Lazarus Group might do next? What are their predictions?
Okay, this is where things get even more interesting. They think the Lazarus Group isn't done yet. Not even close. They believe they're about to enter a whole new phase of their operations, and it could have even bigger consequences for the world.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. This is like the climax of a thriller. The stakes just went up a notch.
So, let's dive into what Lao Gao and Xiaomo have to say. Let's see what the future might hold for the Lazarus Group and for all of us in the world of cybersecurity. You know, it's pretty amazing to see how the Lazarus Group has evolved over time. They started with these relatively simple attacks like denial of service attacks. But now they're pulling off these incredibly complex financial heists. It's almost like they're mirroring North Korea's own strategies, right? As the world tries to contain them with sanctions, they just find new ways to adapt and survive.
It's true. It's like a reflection of the regime itself, always evolving to stay one step ahead.
And the crazy thing is, their impact goes way beyond just stealing cryptocurrency. They've targeted banks, financial institutions, even vaccine research during the pandemic, according to reports. It really paints a picture of a group that's not afraid to push boundaries, to do whatever it takes to get what they want.
Okay, let's put on our conspiracy theory hats for a second. What if there's more to their success than just being really good hackers? What if they're getting help from other, more powerful players?
That's where things get really interesting. Some experts believe they might be connected to other cybercrime groups, forming these alliances to share resources, maybe swap expertise or even launder money.
So it's not just one group, but a whole network of cyber criminals working together, like a digital version of like Spectre from James Bond.
It's a possibility for sure. And then there's the question of whether they're getting support from other countries, governments or organizations that, maybe sympathize with North Korea's goals. It's hard to say for sure, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's like trying to track a ghost in the digital world.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes the Lazarus Group so fascinating, right? This mix of real-world impact and this almost mythical status they've developed.
And their story is definitely not over. As technology keeps advancing and we become more connected, groups like the Lazarus Group are going to have even more opportunities.
Okay, so let's talk about the future. What's next for a group that's already stolen billions and seems like they can't be stopped?
Well, this is where our Chinese YouTube channel friends, Lao Gao and Xiaomo, come in with some interesting analysis and predictions. They think the Lazarus Group is about to enter a whole new phase.
Uh-oh, this sounds a little ominous. What do they think is coming?
They predict the Lazarus Group is going to shift their focus from financial gain to something even more valuable, data.
Data. You mean like personal information, financial records, government secrets, that kind of stuff?
Exactly. They believe the Lazarus Group is going to start targeting massive databases, trying to gain control of huge amounts of sensitive information.
That's a scary thought. Think about the power they would have if they could access all that data. They could blackmail people, manipulate governments, maybe even destabilize entire systems.
It would be a whole new kind of cyber warfare, one where information itself is the weapon.
So they're going from digital bank robbers to digital spies. It's like they're taking inspiration from Edward Snowden.
In a way, yeah. But the consequences could be way worse. Imagine the chaos if they got their hands on the personal data of millions or billions of people. It doesn't even bear thinking about.
So what can we do? How do we protect ourselves against this kind of threat?
Lao Gao and Xiaomo have some advice. They stress how important it is to use strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, and be really careful about phishing scams.
So the same old cybersecurity tips, but now they're even more important.
Exactly. But they also say we need to work together to fight cybercrime. They think we need stronger international cooperation, stricter regulations, and a big focus on educating people about the risks.
So it's not just about individuals protecting themselves. We need a global effort to tackle this.
Absolutely. And they believe technology can be a big part of the solution. They say we need better security tools and maybe even use artificial intelligence to detect and stop these attacks before they happen.
It sounds like we need a combination of personal responsibility and global action.
Hmm?
Human ingenuity and technological innovation all working together.
That's the idea. It's a complex problem that needs a complex solution.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. The Lazarus Group is a truly formidable opponent. But it's reassuring to know there are people like Lao Gao and Xiaomo out there working to understand them and help us stay safe.
I agree. It shows that even when we're facing these huge challenges, there are always people fighting for a safer, more secure future for all of us.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. The story of the Lazarus Group is a warning, a reminder that the digital world isn't some separate reality. It's an extension of our physical world, and it has very real consequences.
It's a reminder that everything we do online, every click, every download, every interaction carries some level of risk. We need to be more careful, more skeptical, and more proactive about protecting ourselves and our digital lives.
So stay safe out there, everyone. And remember, knowledge is power, especially in the world of cybersecurity.